Hi, it's Miss Sebastian here again. Welcome to another art learning adventure. Today we're going to be learning about optical illusions. And if you know Miss Sebastian, then you know that I just love op art. That's the abbreviation for optical illusions in art. Anyway, it all deals with the optics with the eyes and how you perceive and see things. This movement got really big in the 60s, but it's still going strong today. In fact, there is a very strong digital presence on the internet of lots of really cool optical illusions you could look up as well. Stay tuned to the end of the video and I'll tell you a super silly joke of the day. On to our presentation. Optics have to do with the eyes, and illusions are going to be tricks on the eyes. Here's our first one. So, is this man really a giant and that woman more the size of a hobbit? Well, no, it's all a trick in the eye. So here you can see that the chair's not actually put together correctly. It's actually cut in half. And the woman is further away. And as we look at things through space and with our depth perception, one of the ways that our brain can detect when something's further away is when it's smaller than normal. And so that's why the woman appears to be smaller in this, but really she is further away than that man. The next illusion we're going to look at is a distorting illusion, and it's characterized by distortions of size, length, and curvature. So here it looks like the two red lines are slightly bowed because all the other blue lines are going straight to the middle. This next one is called an ambiguous illusion, and with ambiguous illusions, it requires you to have a perceptual switch. So what is the foreground and what is the background? Is the foreground going to be the two people facing one another in silhouette, or is it the really fancy white goblet cup? This is one of the more famous ones, and so with this one, do you see a young woman with her face turned over her shoulder away from us? And around her neck is a thin black necklace. She's got big puffy fuzzy sleeves and a scarf and a feather over her head. Or is it an old creepy witchy looking woman that has a really big nose where the young lady's chin is? That necklace that was on the young lady is now the woman's mouth. And below the mouth is a pointy chin, but she's got big fuzzy sleeves on and a scarf and a feather as well. These illusions are going to be paradox illusions, and that's because they're paradoxical or impossible illusions. So with the stairs, are you always going up, up, up in a circle, or are you always going down, down, down? How many legs does the elephant really have and the tuning fork have? With proximity illusions, those are illusions that you might see in ghost hunter shows, also known as matrixing. And basically, you look at things that are coincidentally near each other. In this case, it looks like a Dalmatian dog with its head down to the ground. But in those ghost hunter shows, it's always rust spots on mirrors. Looks like the old dead inhabitant of that house who's come back. But really, it just happens to be a coincidental grouping of colors, or in this case, spots in the picture. There are artists who make their whole career making proximity illusion art. This is one of the illusions that really requires you to be close to your screen, and you're going to focus in on the white circle in the middle. And then when you do that, you'll notice in your peripheral vision, that's the vision on the sides, that some of those red rectangles are slightly shifting or moving. It may take you a few minutes of staring at that white dot to notice, however. This one also deals with the rods and cones of your eye and the saturation points. So in between the corners of the black squares on the white lines, you may notice a jumping gray spot. When you look at it, it disappears and then it pops up in another part of this picture. Bridget Riley is our featured artist, and you know, there are so many wonderful men artists throughout history that it is refreshing to come across a woman who is a leader in her field. She, for me, is the pivotal, exemplary artist of the op art movement. And when you look at this picture here, there's a lot of measurement involved. The lines that are going left and right are equal distance going up and down the screen, but the lines that are vertical, those are going to be different, and it kind of gives it a real illusion that it almost appears that the paper bends, or maybe if there was a flat table, a marble would roll down into that dip where the lines are no longer squares. This one's called Movement in Squares and was done in 1961. This is a picture of Bridget Riley here. To the best of my knowledge, she is still alive and making art. I have a quick video that has her talking about rhythm and repetition and how you get movement in art with a flat surface.
Rhythm and repetition are at the root of movement. They create a situation within which the most simple, basic forms start to become visually active. By massing them and repeating them, they become more fully present. Repetition acts as a sort of amplifier for visual events which, seen singly, would hardly be visible. But to make these basic forms release the full visual energy within them, they have to breathe, as it were, to open and close, or to tighten up and then relax. A rhythm that's alive has to do with changing pace and feeling how the visual speed can expand and contract, sometimes go slower and sometimes go faster. The whole thing must live.
What's nice with her too is that when you see her art in museums, it is quite large, and you can get fairly close to the paintings and walk along them and really get that sense of movement too, which is nice. A lot of her paintings do have names that are supposed to make you think of certain things. So this one's called Fall. It reminds me of the fall of a girl's long hair. This one's called Descending, and whenever I think about descending something, I'm thinking of stairs, although if I were to walk down these stairs, I might break an ankle going down. All right, so that concludes my presentation for this part of the lesson.
All right, things that you'll need for this lesson include a piece of paper, a pencil, an eraser. You'll need a ruler, and you'll also need maybe a couple of markers. You know, maybe choose your favorite colors. Maybe do all the rainbow colors. I've chosen cool colors, which are blue, purple, and green, but you could also do warm colors, colors of the sun, red, orange, yellow. Of course, we call these cool colors because they are typically colors we associate with oceans or water, a nice place to cool down in the summertime. All right, here's for our first step for today. I am going to make measurements all the way down on the sides of my paper, and notice how I've turned my paper so that it is a vertical format or portrait format. And I'm going to use the centimeter side of my ruler today. So the inches are the bigger spaces with the bigger numbers here. Centimeters, you'll see, has this little cm. And the millimeters, of course, are the little lines in between the centimeters, but each of the centimeters are numbered on this ruler on this side. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to line it up on the edge of my paper. So just a little bit of paper is peeking out from the side of the ruler. And then anywhere there is a number and a long line, that is where I'm going to put a little mark on my paper and measure all the centimeters down. For this size paper, 8.5 by 11 inches, it is about 28 centimeters long. So I'm not going to mark the 28 one because that's really the bottom of the paper. And then what I like to do is slide this ruler all the way over so it just overhangs the edge of the paper, and we're going to line it back up. Remember, when you line it up, we want to line it up on the first long line on the end of the ruler. Sometimes there's a little gap there. You want to skip that gap. And you don't want to turn your ruler around like this because sometimes the measurements go a little weird, especially if you didn't take into consideration that little gap right there. So I'm going to just double check to make sure. Yep, I did do it on this side. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. And then again, anywhere there is a number, I'm going to mark a dot. Okay, next. You'll need a hand for this. So we're gonna take our hand. I like to turn my paper slightly tilted because I'm able to get my wrist nice and straight. Important not to spread your fingers as wide as they can go. Try to keep them more in an upward fashion. And I like to make them go close to the tip here. Some kids, when they get a good handle on this, will actually do two hands like you're grabbing towards each other. And that's okay too. And you can also eventually do shapes and other things, maybe your name. But for this first lesson, I'm going to just trace my hand. Keeping that pencil straight up and flush with the edge of my fingers and wrist. So now the wrist does become part of the picture as well. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw straight lines going across. Now some kids like to use markers and skip this step with the pencil, but I find especially with rulers that are plastic or metal, the marker will smear because there'll be an edge of marker on the very edge here, and when you slide it over, it'll smear. So I always like to do this part with just pencil first. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to skip over the hand entirely, and I'm just going to do straight lines behind the hand. So here we go. And what I did was I just took the edge of the ruler here and I put the little dot here, and I made sure the little dot was there, and then again I draw my line. And you can press hard because chances are, unless you're using yellow, maybe orange markers, you are not going to probably see the pencil line. But if that bothers you, just remember to press lightly. And I'm going to just finish up these right now. All right, so now I'm done with that step. I am going to now make these curved lines that will probably eventually look like, hopefully, the hand is above the lined background. So I'm going to go ahead and do a big curve right here, kind of like a rainbow. The taller the curve, the more 3D it looks, and I'm just going to connect up a curved line that will connect up both lines that are across from each other. It's great doing the wrist first because, there we go, it's easier to get these steps done correctly with the wrist because it's just a simple arch or a rainbow. Now, as we move up, of course, in our picture, to the fingers, things will probably change. Now I've hit over here, so I'm just going to skip this area, and then I'm just going to make it look like it came back and went like that for the thumb. Skip down. We're going to do another one for the thumb. And then I know there's going to be one here that's going to go, that we don't see, it probably went down here actually. And then I can connect these up. And then over here, we're going to continue working. So we're going to go ahead and do the next one. And here, I might even do like a little bit of a wave, like where my knuckles might be. And that's going to connect down to there. And if you're not sure which one it connects to, you can always check it out here. So now we see that this one should connect down here as well. So let's go ahead and do another bump for some knuckles maybe. And that goes there. And then, of course, we're gonna do our fingers so they connect up on the other side. This is probably the last little bumpy one that I'm gonna do. And that would be the fingertip. All right, so now I have this part done. And sometimes kids just put an extra tip of an arch down here. Like if it went off the paper, you could just add another one or two in. Now I'm gonna go ahead and use my colors, and I'm just going to do a pattern with these. And really you can do your patterns however you'd like, or maybe you just wanna do one color and have the white background. That's up to you. And then really the only thing left to do is maybe erase the outline of your hand that you did initially. Because sometimes that too, if you pressed really hard, could break the illusion of your hand popping off the page. And there you go. There's your 3D hand, your op art. Be sure to stick around for another lesson I'll be doing on op art, and on to your super silly joke of the day.
Oh, I hope you enjoyed that lesson as much as I enjoyed teaching it. So today's super silly joke of the day is, my daughter showed me an optical illusion and I said, I just didn't see it. I just didn't see it. Yeah, that's my joke. So remember, always be kind to everyone you meet. Do something nice for someone today, maybe an extra chore for your brother or sister or your parents. And remember, always keep on making great art.